You can't be serious. The words exploded from my mouth before I could stop them. Miranda Hayes, my CEO of 20 years, leaned back in her leather chair, perfectly manicured nails tapping against the mahogany desk. At 48, she radiated the kind of polished cruelty that corporate power breeds. Beside her, CFO Jonathan Brooks, 55 and wearing his usual smug expression, watched the scene unfold like a spectator at a blood sport. "Rachel, after 20 years, you're being replaced by my daughter," Miranda declared, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "Sophia needs experience, and your position is perfect for her." I stood frozen, Rachel Carter, 52-year-old marketing director, watching my career crumble. 20 years of late nights, sacrificed weekends, and unwavering dedication reduced to this moment. "Leave quietly or lose your pension," she added, barely concealing her amusement. Jonathan's smirk widened, clearly enjoying my humiliation. The office felt suffocating, but somewhere beneath my shock, a different emotion stirred: cold calculation. I straightened my spine, forcing my features into an expression of serene acceptance. "I understand completely." Miranda's eyebrow arched, surprised by my composure. She had no idea what she'd just set in motion. "Hit that subscribe button now if you believe loyalty should always be rewarded. Only someone who supports betrayal would refuse." The termination letter felt heavy in my hands, its corporate jargon attempting to mask the brutality of the decision. "Position elimination due to restructuring," it claimed. No mention of how I'd single-handedly saved TechVision $5 million just last quarter through my market expansion strategy. My mind drifted to 6 months ago, when Miranda first introduced her daughter Sophia at the company gala. Fresh MBA graduate, 24. Bubbling with theoretical knowledge but zero practical experience. I'd even mentored her during her summer internship, never suspecting I was training my replacement. "Sign here." Miranda pushed another document across the desk. As I leaned forward, my eyes caught something unusual. Financial reports scattered carelessly, numbers that didn't add up, accounts I'd never seen before. I signed with deliberate slowness, memorizing every detail visible on those papers. Years of marketing had taught me to read between lines, spot patterns others missed. 2 weeks to transition, Jonathan announced, clearly eager to expedite my departure. "We'll need all your files and client contacts." "Of course," I replied smoothly, my mind already formulating a plan. They saw compliance. I saw opportunity. Walking out of that office, I maintained perfect poise, but inside, gears were turning. Something was deeply wrong at TechVision, and my termination was just the surface. That evening, I called Kevin Matthews, an old friend from business school who'd become a forensic accountant. Our friendship had survived decades, built on mutual respect and shared ethics. "Rachel, those numbers you described sound like classic embezzlement markers," Kevin confirmed after I relayed what I'd seen. "Send me whatever you can access." Over the next 48 hours, we uncovered a labyrinth of financial misconduct. Phantom vendors, inflated invoices, mysterious consulting fees, all pointing toward systematic fraud orchestrated by Miranda and Jonathan. The real breakthrough came from an unexpected source: my office pen, a gift from my tech-savvy nephew last Christmas. It contained a hidden camera I'd activated during the termination meeting as insurance. Reviewing the footage revealed more than just my firing. After I'd left, Miranda and Jonathan discussed Phase 2 of their plan, mentioning offshore accounts and cleaning house before the annual audit. "This is massive, Rachel," Kevin whistled through the phone. "We're talking federal crimes here." I compiled everything methodically: screenshots, recordings, financial discrepancies. Each piece of evidence strengthened our case. They'd chosen the wrong person to betray. 3 days later, I returned for my exit interview. The HR director, Ashley Chen, greeted me with forced cheerfulness that couldn't mask her discomfort. "Standard procedure," she explained, sliding paperwork across her desk. "Severance details, benefits transition, pension documentation." I scrutinized each document carefully. The severance package appeared generous, until I noticed the pension calculations, significantly lower than my 20-year tenure warranted. "These figures seem incorrect," I pointed out calmly. Ashley shifted uncomfortably. "The formula was recently updated. All long-term employees are affected. Translation: they were skimming from retirement funds too. Interesting timing, I observed, making notes on my copy. May I have the updated policy documentation? Her hesitation spoke volumes. I'll need to check with Miranda first. Perfect. More evidence of coordinated deception. I spent the next hour documenting every irregularity, asking pointed questions that made Ashley increasingly nervous. By the time I left, I had enough ammunition to prove systematic pension fraud affecting dozens of employees. The paper trail was damning, but I needed more. Miranda and Jonathan had built their scheme carefully, but greed makes people sloppy. Their biggest mistake was underestimating the woman they'd discarded. Kevin's investigation expanded rapidly. What began as suspected embezzlement unveiled an intricate web of corporate crime. Miranda and Jonathan had been siphoning funds for years, using shell companies and fake consulting contracts to drain millions. They're preparing for something big, Kevin explained during our late-night strategy session. The offshore accounts show increased activity. They're moving money faster. The pieces clicked into place. Sophia's hiring wasn't just nepotism. It was cover. By installing her daughter in my position, Miranda ensured control over marketing communications, the department that could expose their fraud to shareholders. I discovered they'd targeted 5 other senior employees for termination, all in positions that could potentially uncover their scheme. The restructuring was actually a purge of anyone who might pose a threat. Then came the bombshell. Kevin found evidence suggesting the SEC had already opened a preliminary investigation. Miranda and Jonathan were racing against time, trying to cover their tracks before federal investigators arrived. They're getting desperate, I realized. That's why they're moving so quickly. We had them cornered, but desperate people make dangerous choices. The next phase required precision and perfect timing. One wrong move could send them running with millions in stolen funds. The game had changed. This wasn't just about my job anymore. It was about justice for every employee they'd betrayed. Subscribe now if you stand for fairness and strategic justice. Only someone who believes betrayal should go unpunished would hesitate. The trap required surgical precision. Kevin and I orchestrated every detail with the meticulous care of master chess players. Our first move involved Sarah Chen, a junior accountant who'd noticed discrepancies but feared speaking up. I've been documenting everything for months, Sarah confessed during our clandestine meeting at a downtown cafe. But I was terrified of losing my job. Her files contained the smoking gun, direct evidence of Miranda authorizing fraudulent wire transfers. Combined with my hidden camera footage, we had enough to bring down the entire operation. I contacted James Morrison, an SEC investigator I'd met at a conference years ago. His eyes widened as I laid out our evidence. This is bigger than we suspected, he admitted. We've been watching TechVision, but your information accelerates everything. The plan crystallized. We needed Miranda and Jonathan to incriminate themselves further, on record, with federal witnesses present. I proposed a board meeting under the guise of finalizing my transition. Tell them you found additional client contracts that need proper handover, James suggested. Make it urgent enough that they can't refuse. The meeting was set for Friday afternoon. I spent the intervening days planting seeds of doubt among key board members, subtle hints about financial irregularities that demanded attention. D-Day arrived with storm clouds gathering, both literally and metaphorically. I entered the boardroom wearing my sharpest suit, briefcase, containing copies of every damning document. Miranda and Jonathan arrived late, their confidence palpable. They had no idea that 3 board members were already cooperating with authorities, or that SEC agents waited in the adjacent conference room. Before we discuss the transition, I began, projecting slides onto the screen. I need to address some concerning discoveries. The first slide showed the phantom vendor payments. Miranda's face paled. These transactions require explanation, I continued, clicking through evidence of shell companies, forged signatures, and offshore accounts. Jonathan attempted damage control. These are standard international business practices. Is stealing from employee pension funds also standard practice? I interrupted, displaying the altered calculations. The room erupted. Board members demanded answers. Miranda and Jonathan scrambled to explain, their stories contradicting each other, lies compounding. That's when I played my ace. the hidden camera footage, their own words, discussing offshore accounts and eliminating problems, echoed through the boardroom. "You recorded us illegally," Miranda shrieked. "Actually," James Morrison announced, entering with his team, "single-party consent laws in this state make the recording admissible. Securities and Exchange Commission. You're both under investigation for federal crimes." FBI agents followed, badges gleaming. The sight of Miranda and Jonathan being read their rights, while board members watched in stunned silence, was poetry in motion. As they were led away in handcuffs, Miranda's carefully constructed facade crumbled. 20 years of shared history ended with her screaming threats while reality closed in. Jonathan broke first, offering to testify against Miranda in exchange for leniency. The empire they'd built on deception collapsed in hours. Sarah Chen received whistleblower protection and a promotion. The board appointed an interim CEO committed to transparency. And I stood in that boardroom, watching justice unfold, knowing that sometimes the best revenge is simply revealing the truth. The aftermath unfolded like dominoes falling. Federal investigators descended on TechVision, seizing computers, files, and freezing accounts. The scope of Miranda and Jonathan's crimes stunned even seasoned prosecutors. $27 million, the lead investigator informed me during my testimony. Stolen over 8 years through 143 shell companies across 6 countries. The trial lasted 3 months. I testified for 2 grueling days, presenting evidence, explaining the intricate web of deception. Miranda maintained her innocence until Jonathan's testimony shredded her defense. She orchestrated everything, he claimed, desperate to minimize his sentence. The pension fund manipulation was her idea. Security footage from the office revealed late-night meetings, document-shredding parties, and hurried conversations whenever auditors approached. Email trails exposed their conspiracy in their own words. The jury deliberated for only 6 hours. Guilty on all counts: wire fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, money laundering, and pension fund manipulation. Miranda received 15 years in federal prison and $30 million in restitution. Jonathan got 12 years for cooperation. But the reckoning extended beyond courtroom walls. Sophia Hayes, confronted with evidence of her mother's crimes, resigned immediately. Several board members stepped down. The company's stock plummeted before recovering under new leadership. For employees like me, justice came in multiple forms. Full pension restoration plus damages, back pay with interest, public vindication after months of suspicion and whispers. The most satisfying moment arrived when the judge ordered Miranda to personally apologize to every affected employee. Watching her read prepared statements, voice trembling, power stripped away, that was true justice. "Your greed destroyed lives," the judge declared during sentencing. "You betrayed trust, manipulated systems meant to protect workers, and showed zero remorse until caught." TechVision underwent complete restructuring. New policies, external auditors, employee protection programs, all implemented to prevent future abuse. The company that Miranda tried to pillage became a model for corporate reform. Media coverage exploded. The pension plot became national news, sparking investigations into similar schemes nationwide. My story inspired other whistleblowers to come forward. 3 weeks after the verdict, I received a package. The nameplate from my old office door, returned by the new CEO with a note. "Your courage saved this company. We'd be honored if you'd consider returning." I smiled, tucking the nameplate away. My path led elsewhere now, but knowing that truth prevailed brought profound satisfaction. Sometimes justice isn't just about punishment. It's about restoration, reformation, and ensuring such betrayals never happen again. 6 months later, I found myself in a federal detention center's visiting room. Miranda sat across the glass partition, orange jumpsuit replacing designer suits, perfectly coiffed hair now streaked with gray. "Why?" she asked, eyes hollow. "Why couldn't you just leave quietly?" I studied the woman I'd once admired. 20 years, Miranda. I gave everything to TechVision. You didn't just fire me, You tried to steal my future. It was business, she insisted, clinging to delusion. No, business operates on ethics, trust, mutual benefit. What you did was criminal. Silence stretched between us. I saw her wrestling with reality, pride battling against truth. I started small, she finally whispered. Just covering cash flow gaps. Then it became easier, justified by success. By the time I realized how deep I was, you could have stopped. Come clean. Instead, you destroyed careers to hide your crimes. She nodded slowly. I see that now. Prison gives you time to think. What about Sophia? Pain flashed across her face. She won't visit. Says I've ruined her life, her reputation. Maybe she's right. I felt no satisfaction in her suffering. Only profound sadness for wasted potential. Miranda had been brilliant once, innovative, inspiring. Greed corrupted everything she'd built. I don't forgive you, I stated clearly. But I hope you find redemption somehow. Standing to leave, I paused. Those financial skills you misused, maybe teach them to other inmates. Help them prepare for honest lives after release. Her eyes widened slightly, the first glimpse of possibility beyond self-pity. Walking away, I realized forgiveness wasn't my burden to carry. My peace came from choosing integrity over silence, justice over complicity. Miranda's journey toward redemption was hers alone. The guard buzzed me through security doors. Outside, sunshine felt cleaner, air fresher. I'd confronted my past and found closure. Now, only the future remained. Freedom tastes different when you fought for justice. I invested my settlement wisely, not in luxury but in purpose. The consulting firm I established, Integrity Solutions, specialized in corporate ethics training and whistleblower protection. We prevent scandals before they destroy companies, became our motto. Former TechVision employees joined me, creating a team united by shared experience and commitment to transparency. Our first client, TechVision itself, under new leadership, sought to rebuild trust. Irony at its finest, returning as a consultant to the company that tried to discard me. I relocated to a coastal town in Maine, trading city stress for ocean views. The Victorian house I purchased needed work, much like my life. But the bones were solid. Restoration became therapy. At the local shelter, a German Shepherd mix caught my eye. She's been here 6 months, the volunteer explained. Abandoned by owners who moved away. I named her Justice, appreciating the symbolism. We healed together, morning walks on the beach replacing corporate meetings, her loyalty untainted by human complexity. The consulting firm flourished beyond expectations. We developed AI-driven audit systems, anonymous reporting platforms, and comprehensive ethics programs. Companies across the nation sought our expertise. I hired Marcus, a young programmer who'd been laid off during Miranda's purge. His innovation revolutionized our detection methods. Sarah Chen became our lead trainer, her first-hand experience invaluable. Local community embraced me. I joined the Chamber of Commerce, mentored young professionals, and sponsored a scholarship for business ethics students. Purpose replaced the void Miranda's betrayal had created. My daughter visited frequently, proud of how I'd handled adversity. You didn't just survive, Mom. You transformed everything. Evenings found me on the porch, justice at my feet, laptop balanced on my knees. Work remained important but no longer consumed me. Balance, once elusive, became natural. The house renovations mirrored my personal journey, stripping away damaged layers, reinforcing foundations, creating something stronger than before. Original hardwood floors gleamed beneath decades of neglect, beauty revealed through patient restoration. 1 year after the trial, Integrity Solutions employed 50 people across 3 offices. We'd exposed 4 major corporate frauds, protected dozens of whistleblowers, and trained thousands in ethical leadership. Success measured differently now, not in titles or corner offices, but in lives protected, corruption prevented, trust restored. Every morning, watching sunrise paint the ocean gold, I knew this was the life I was meant to build. The letter arrived on a Tuesday, handwritten on personal stationery. Dear Miss Carter, you don't know me but you saved my family. I'm Jennifer Martinez, accounts receivable at TechVision. The pension theft would have destroyed my retirement. Because of your courage, My husband's cancer treatments continued uninterrupted. Your actions inspired me to report fraud at my daughter's company last month. She was terrified, but I told her about you, how one person standing up can change everything. Thank you for showing us that integrity matters. You didn't just expose criminals. You restored faith in doing what's right. With deepest gratitude, Jennifer. Similar letters arrived weekly. Former colleagues, industry professionals, complete strangers, all connected by threads of inspiration. A college student started an ethics club after studying my case. A retired executive came forward about decades-old corruption. The ripples spread beyond anything I'd imagined. My battle against Miranda and Jonathan became a catalyst for widespread change. Corporate boards nationwide strengthened oversight. Whistleblower protections expanded. At a conference in Boston, a young woman approached. I'm studying forensic accounting because of you. Your story showed me how numbers can deliver justice. These connections, unexpected, profound, became my greatest reward. 2 years post-Tech Vision, serenity replaced survival. Morning meditation on my deck, waves providing rhythm, justice snoring softly nearby. The frantic pace of corporate life felt like another lifetime. Integrity Solutions operated smoothly, trusted team members managing daily operations. I focused on strategy, speaking engagements, and mentoring. Work served purpose, not ego. The garden behind my house flourished. Metaphor made literal. What began as therapy grew into abundance. Neighbors stopped by for fresh vegetables, sharing stories over homemade lemonade. I dated occasionally, nothing serious. Contentment didn't require completion by another. Peace came from within, hard-earned through trials faced and overcome. My testimony led to nationwide reforms. The Carter Protocol became standard practice, comprehensive protections for employees exposing corporate malfeasance. Legacy built not on wealth or power, but principle. Sometimes, driving past Tech Vision's headquarters during Boston visits, memories surfaced. Not bitterness, gratitude. That betrayal redirected my path toward authentic purpose. Evening brought simple pleasures. Good wine, classic novels, Justice's head on my lap. Texts from my daughter, photos of grandchildren I now had time to cherish. This was success redefined. Not climbing ladders, but building bridges. Not acquiring more, but becoming more. Peace, I learned, isn't absence of conflict, it's presence of purpose. Subscribe now if you believe real strength is rebuilding better after betrayal. Only those who think giving up is the answer would walk away.